Welcome to solverfy.
This question tests our knowledge of the important cellular ions found both within the cytoplasm of cells and in the extracellular fluid, in addition to chemical equilibrium. So if we are to set up this experiment right here, where we have a partition in the middle of this container, and we fill one side, let's say this left side, with water, and this side right here is empty. So there's nothing in it. It's let's just say it's just air. And of course, if we remove the partition, then of course the water gushes into this space that did not have any water to begin with. So essentially, we went from a high concentration of water to a low concentration of water until, let's say, our water level was like up to here in the original, and then of course we had our partition, and the low level was nothing. So now it will equalize. So now our water level, right, we had our partition here, it's not there anymore, but our water level is now equal in both sides of the container, right? So that makes sense. So the same principle applies to ions and other molecules, both inside and outside cells. And we can think of this partition as our cellular or plasma membrane. Now, we also know that within our plasma membrane, there are specific proteins, and there's also channels and pumps as well. So there is a difference that we have to differentiate between diffusion and active transport. So diffusion is what we just described, where we have some sort of molecule, so in this case it was water, moving from a high concentration to a low concentration. And it just does this automatically. This is just the way that the equilibrium works. However, there's another way that we can move water, but that would be in the opposite direction, from low concentration to high concentration. So to move from a low concentration to a high concentration, we are going to go through active transport. And this is where our pumps come in. So if we were to look at this diagram that we drew, now let's say we put our partition back, but now within that partition, we have set up a pump that will pump water from one side to the other. So it's a specific pump, and it allows water to pass through to this side. But that's going to take energy because let's say these are in equilibrium. Now we want to revert it back to this state. So it will take energy and to pump the water from this side to this side. So the same thing happens with our sodium ions in our cells. So in our cell, we have our plasma membrane, and inside the cell is the cytosol, and outside is the extracellular fluid. Of course, here's our plasma membrane right there. And within that plasma membrane, we have these pumps. And these are going to be our sodium potassium pumps. And essentially, it will use ATP. So we're going to have to put ATP in. And that's essentially energy, the currency of energy for the cell. And it will allow for sodium ions to be pumped out and for potassium ions to be pumped in. And this maintains a high concentration of sodium ions outside the cell and a high concentration of potassium ions inside the cell. So that means that our correct answer here is answer choice B.